today's time with the Commission, we are focusing on the Minerals and Mining Support Services Regulations 2012. It's LI 2174. In last week's edition, we looked at the rationale for the enactment of the Local Content and Local Participation Regulation LI 2431, the major elements and benefits to Ghanaian businesses. Today, we are looking at the support services, and we are privileged once more to have Mr. Collins Enim Saki with us. He is Director, Policy, Planning and Mineral Titles of the Minerals Commission. Good morning and welcome once again.
Good morning.
So we've talked about local content and we've talked about local participation and how Ghanaian businesses can take advantage of some of the opportunities offered by the strict reserving of certain aspects of the mining industry for Ghanaian businesses. And so I'm sure that people have taken that in good faith. Today we are talking about support services. What exactly do we mean when we say that? Okay. Support services in the minerals
and mining industry. Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you very much. You'll recall that when we were talking about local content, we made mention of the fact that it applied to certain category of persons. It applied to mining leaseholders. It applied to prospecting or reconnaissance license holders. And then we made mention that it also applies to mine support service companies and those who have also been licensed to deal in minerals. So when you look at the first two, the mining leaseholders and the prospecting or reconnaissance license holders, you can put them into a category which we call the mineral rights holders. So these mineral rights holders have been granted licenses over a specified area to either mine or search for minerals over the area. What happens is that very often they do not do these things on their own. They engage other persons, other companies to provide services for them. So these companies that provide varying services to mineral rights holders are what we call the mine support service providers. You'll recall when we said that certain activities have been reserved for Ghanaians. All these services can be classified as mine support services activities. So the mine support service, we can find this under our law, Section 59 of the Act. It talks about the fact that persons will be registered with the Minerals Commission and may be given concessions to operate as mine support service operators. And to give effect to that section, we passed the regulation, which is the Minerals and Mining Support Services Regulation of 2012, LI 2174.
So in practical terms, what kind of actual activities do they support the mineral right holders to provide?
Okay. If you pick the support services regulation, you notice that we have classified activities that are provided by. We have Class A activities, we have Class B activities, and then recently we introduced the Class C, which can be found in the local content law. Class A activities include what we call contract mining. The mineral rights holder may choose to mine on its own, that is engage persons, staff that will be doing the mining for the company, or they can contract the mining to another company. So you can find another company working as a mine support service company doing contract mining for the mineral rights holder. Contract mining includes clearing of the vegetation, excavating materials from the ground, drilling and blasting, transportation of the material to the processing plant on a turnkey basis. That is a contract mining. You can have companies that are supplying equipment to mining companies. I'm sure you may have heard of companies like Atlas Copco, Sandvik. These are all companies, Labor, Mantrac. These are companies that are supplying equipment to the mining industry. You have those that are also doing what we call assay laboratory services. They help the mining companies to know what is really contained in the ore, in the material that they have there. So we have SGS as a support service company that is providing laboratory services. You have ALS, you have Intertech. These are all laboratory companies. So, and a whole lot of them providing one form of service. There are those who are just registered to provide drilling and blasting services for the mine. So they will drill for the company, they will blast for the company and go away. That is all that they do for the company. Then we have some under Class B, which we talked about the other time. We said that Class B has been reserved for Ghanaians. And these Class B services include the security services, the catering services, the transportation or haulage services, and then contract mining to small-scale miners. These are all support service activities. Then we come to the Class C, which is reserved also for people who are within the vicinity of the mining area. And those include the weeding, the sweeping, the fencing, and then others. So these are the activities that qualify for registration with the Minerals Commission as a mine support service provider.
Okay, so I get from listening to you, Class B is reserved solely for Ghanaians.
Class B and C
is for persons
also within the vicinity. So that is also Ghanaians.
Does that mean Class A is open to people from anywhere?
Exactly. Class A is open to anyone. Class A, you could be a foreign company. If you are incorporated in Ghana to provide that services, you can do that. Just like I said, Sandvik, Atlas Copco, Mantrac, Labour, they are not Ghanaian-owned companies, but they are incorporated in Ghana to provide such services. We also have companies like Rockshore. These are Ghanaian-owned companies, but they are providing some form of services to. So Class A is open to anyone.
Okay, and you sound like without these support services, the mineral rights holders may not be as effective. Would I be right to assume that?
Yes, that is true, because on the flip side of it, it means that they will have to carry out those services by themselves. That is, yes, the mining company will choose to engage staff for the catering services. What it means that they will have to have their own canteen and have staff there providing those services, and they will be paying those staff. They will not be contracting, because once you contract, some of your burden is taken off. You have to pay the contractor, and then the contractor will do the detailed aspect of it, of paying his staff. So yes, they can do it all by themselves if they choose not to engage support service providers.
But wouldn't you expect that once a company approaches Minerals Commission to say they want to go into prospecting for minerals, yes, gold, whatever, they would have the capacity to do it? Because now we are hearing that someone could get the license and then get other people to do it with this, for example, contract mining that you've mentioned. Yes.
When you apply for anything, license, let me say that prospecting and reconnaissance is just to search for minerals. You do not. But let me say, those who have the mining list are the ones that can mine actually. Now, you look at the economics of the situation. At a point in time, I remember several years back, all mining companies were doing the mining on their own. In fact, as we speak now, some of them are doing owner mining. They are doing it themselves. But some of them also look at the economics of the situation and decide that, well, I think I'll be better off if I give the mining aspect to a company to do that for me. That is not to say that they don't have the capacity to do so. They can't do that. In fact, they have staff, management staff that oversee the activities of the contract miner.
And what criteria would you have to meet to be qualified to register as a support service?
Okay. When we first, and we being the Minerals Commission, introduced support services somewhere in the 90s, we're looking at some underlying principles. The first one is to look at companies that will produce locally, at least in parts, inputs that are used by mining companies and which previously they were importing them wholly. So in the past, before the early 90s, mining companies were importing everything. All the inputs that they use for the activities were being imported. When we introduced the mining support service company, now it gives opportunity for some of these things to be done locally. And that is one of the underlying principles of the support service. The second one is those that provide locally services which in the past mining companies were depending on external parties to provide them. In the past, companies would bring consultants and every professional from outside the country to provide services for them. But with the introduction of support services, we have people who are providing such services locally. So that is the underlying principles. Now, to qualify for this, the regulation spells out the things that you need to submit to the Minerals Commission. You must be incorporated in Ghana. You cannot provide mine support services when you are not incorporated in Ghana with a register of companies. So one key thing is that you need to also submit your business plan for consideration by Minerals Commission to know exactly the nature of services that you are going to provide and look at the viability of that project as well. We also make sure that you need to, when you are working in the country, you need to comply with certain things. Your tax obligations, we need to know that. Your SNIT clearance certificates, we need to have copies of those. And then your bank statements or your financial capability to undertake the business that you intend to do. So these are some of the requirements that you need to present to the Minerals Commission for consideration.
Ideally, how long does it take for one to get the license once the application?
The registration will take, if you submit your application and there are no issues with that, within 30 days, you have to be registered. Of course, in the course of the review of your documents, if there are any issues, we have to get back to you to make sure that you do right things that were not.
Right. And what's the fee? Are there
are fees.
It's a charged service.
There's a charge service, yes. The application form is standard for all of them. For Class A and Class B, the equivalent of $250 is the application fee. The processing fee of the $500 equivalent of is the processing fee for Classes A and B. For Class A, the fee itself, registration fee for mine support service, is the equivalent of $10,000.
How much?
$10,000.
$10,000.
Yes. And then Class B, which is reserved for Ghanaians, is the equivalent of $6,000. For Class C, because we're targeting and looking at the people within the vicinity of the fee ranges from 80 cedis to 1,200 Ghana cedis.
How come some of the charges are in dollars and some are in cedis?
Well, for those within the vicinity, yes, we decided to keep them. In respect of Class A and B, it's already contained, that is what is contained in the law, and I think it was done because of mining is an international business. We had people paying from outside the country, and then we also were in a situation where in the past it was difficult because of the way that the city was running. It was becoming difficult for us if you have to ask people to pay fees in cities. It means that every year you need to have to change your fee schedule. But this is the dollar rated is put in the regulation, and that is what we apply for the past since 2012. It has never been changed.
So you pay the cedi equivalent of that dollar
yes.
amount, right? And how is the support services registration different from the operating permit?
Okay. There is another regulation, and I'm sure as we move along, one of my colleagues will also come and take you.
There's quite a number of regulations.
As I said, yes, we have about 8 or 9 regulations in place now. There is one called Minerals and Mining Health, Safety and Technical Regulations. And that deals with the health and safety issues on a mine. Now, one is registered with the Minerals Commission. Either you have a license as a mining leaseholder, or you have a license as a prospecting or license reconnaissance license holder. If you want to enter the property to carry out your activities every year, you need a permit that allows you to enter the permit and carry on with your activities. And this is very important because we have inspectors, mine inspectors, that provide competency certificates and education to members or the staff of the companies. And it's important that we make sure that you operate in a standardized manner, you operate in a manner which is acceptable in terms of health, safety, and then other means. So it is important that, yes, you obtain a operating permit. So the first thing is that you must first be registered. One of the prerequisites for obtaining an operating permit is that you already hold a license. If you do not hold a license, you cannot be given an operating permit.
Right, and so the from what you've explained, the operating permit is what you get after you've been licensed.
After you've been licensed
to
mine
prospect.
Or to search for prospects.
And then the support services.
And to provide support services as well. Yes.
Okay, right. So I get that now. And what are the sanctions if people do not comply with these laid down rules that you're explaining to us?
The first requirement is that if once you are registered as a mine support service provider, you need to submit reports, monthly reports and annual reports. Failure to do so constitutes an offense, and you can be sanctioned for doing that. You will be required to pay a fee of $1,000 equivalent if you fail to submit an annual report or a monthly report to the commission. And then if it persists, you pay $100 equivalent each day. Other offenses include if you obstruct an officer of the Minerals Commission from carrying out its obligations under the regulation, that is also an offense. For instance, if an officer comes to your facility to carry out monitoring activities or inspection activities and you prevent the officer from entering that place, it's an offense. The second one is if you provide information to the Minerals Commission, information that you know that it's false or misleading, or you ought to have known that it is false and misleading, you can be sanctioned for that as well.
Right. I think we'll come back again next week, and then we'll look into this law in a bit more detail, because I'm sure that people will be very interested in where to even go to apply for some of these services, and you might want to make some numbers available. What would your final comments be as we wrap up on this topic? A quick one before we move on.
Thank you very much. You cannot separate local content from mine support service. We're doing local content because we want Ghanaians to grow up and have the opportunity to provide services to the mining industry. And now, once we're able to reserve certain services for Ghanaians to take advantage of and provide such services to the mining industry, it's important that they get to register as mine support service providers so that they can be taken through, they can be regulated. You agree with me that when there are no regulations, there will be chaos. So it's important that once we take advantage of local content regulations, the opportunities, let us also register as support service providers so that we can provide services to the mining industry.
Thank you, Mr. Enim Saki. Mr. Collins Enim Saki is the Director, Policy Planning and Mineral...